everyone. Welcome to Our Healing Voices podcast and YouTube channel. I'm Aaron Lahman, and this is episode 46 featuring Dr. Dawn Andalon. And I am excited about this conversation today. I really, my heart is in extreme gratitude for you, Dr. Dawn, for the love that you've been pouring into my mom since the end of June. And she comes every time she comes back from an appointment and seeing you, she's like floating and feeling excited and motivated and feeling like she can do this. And, and for me, that is like what you dream about as a son who adores his mom, to have practitioners taking care of her the way you're taking care of her. So first off, big gratitude there. And then those of you who are brand new to the Our Healing Voices podcast YouTube world, just a brief introduction of why I started this podcast a little over 2.5 years ago. I've been in the body, mind, spirit, wellness world since probably 2006 intentionally was when I started going to massage school. But really started like massaging friends at 16. I remember like my friends would always like sit near me, or in college, like, my buddy who's now a chiropractor, we would always just like do massage exchanges in college. So I was always like, just amazed at the power of touch and the power of, healing touch. So anyway, during this journey of body, mind, spirit, wellness, evolution, expansion, blocks, victories, right? This whole journey of learning and being a human. Sometimes it's been lonely when I'm diving into some yoga text or a Wayne Dyer text or a Louise Hay text or a Lisa Nichols podcast or whatever. And I'm like, I just wonder if anybody else is like interested in this stuff. And so then as I've kept my eyes open more and more over the last decade through yoga school and massage school, and then as a teacher, a high school teacher, and then moving out to California, I'm like, holy moly, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that cares about this stuff. I'm not the only one that like is in awe of our body's innate gifts and innate healing abilities. So I launched this podcast. One, to just like remind myself I'm not alone, and hopefully to remind listeners and those who I'm interviewing that we're not alone, that it's like, hey, we're in this evolutionary game together. We're in this transformative game together. Let's encourage each other, cheer each other on, and support one another. So, and then the last piece is the voices. As I was thinking about doing a podcast, I'm like, okay, sure, I could read a book or go on some expedition and then do like regular downloads. And then I'm like, you know what though? One of my biggest passions in life is I'm so curious about others and hearing other people's stories and hearing why people are who they are. And so, so Our Healing Voices came out of those two pieces, right? Body, mind, spirit, wellness, healing, extreme curiosity, and like a desire to remind us we're not alone. And then 2, creating a space where other practitioners, other people on the healing path, other people just on the learning journey could explore sharing their voice. And so all that to say, welcome those of you who are brand new. And Dr. Dawn Andalon, I'm so thankful for the work you're doing with my mom, and also the work you're doing. I know you and your husband, Oscar, founded and started or co-owners of Level4 PT and Pilates in Encinitas, California. And so, I'm just curious, like, if you don't mind, we'll just dive right in. Yeah. How'd you get to where you are today? Like, what, as you think back on your life up till now, like what made you choose this path to be offering the work you're doing right now and sharing the love you're sharing right now?
Oh, well, thank you. It's such a pleasure to get to know you a little bit better too, and your awesome family. I did go to physical therapy school back in transition after I was involved in dance and fitness. a lot during my life of being active, and I really fell in love with movement. But when I first went to college, I actually started off as an interior design major and thinking I was going to do something completely different. And as I was also in the dance program at Ohio University, where I went, I had a ballet teacher that was actually a physical therapist too. And at the time, even all throughout college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, whether it was, something in movement. I ended up switching my major to exercise physiology and the science realm because I thought that's what you do. You get out of college, you get a stable job, and you get something that's dependable. And dance wasn't going to be that for me. I wasn't going to move to New York or LA. And I wanted a career where I didn't have to sit at a desk, that I wanted to move. And I also felt like I was the personality type to help other people too. And I didn't fully understand what it meant to be a physical therapist. I actually took a year off after undergrad and tried to decide what I wanted to do. I worked as a personal trainer. I taught dance classes. I did a lot of different things. And then I decided I had met someone else in undergrad who went to this small school in Florida, and I was in Ohio, and they had an amazing experience at this physical therapy program. And so I applied to Ohio State. I applied to the school in Florida, and I decided when I got into both schools that I was going to choose to move to somewhere warm. And I went to Florida. And that's how I actually met my husband, was in grad school. So we both became physical therapists. And I also had an interest from my dance background in Pilates. And one of the first physical therapists I worked with was actually in Long Beach, California. And she was a pelvic floor physical therapist. Women's health is what she specialized in. So that's kind of how it was, a lot of listening to myself and also the people that I met along the way that kind of created the path and the journey. My husband was more of the business guy, and I had always had a drive for kind of creativity and figuring things out on my own. And I think that's something that I thought I'll just do on the side as my own thing. It wasn't until we had quite an experience up in Portland, Oregon, where we both had this epiphany and just some life changes and said, I think it's time for us to do our own thing. So we had started our own business actually in Portland, Oregon. And then after a while realized that it wasn't going to be a long-term place that we wanted to stay. We were more like warm and beach people, and the type of business model we had more of a desire to go to somewhere like Southern California. So that's how we ended up in San Diego. Kind of like, long story short, how we kind of got on that path. But our business did not start as a complete women's health business. It's evolved over 6 years. In the last 2 years, that's where I'd say we became a little more niche and specialty in women's health because of the population of women, that it was just that part of our business was growing a lot faster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So from Ohio dancer, movement, just all about, and fitness. You after that were like personal training, venture down to Florida for PT school, meet Oscar down there, meet your hubby down there. You both graduate as PT, as physical therapists, then start a business up in Portland. And then as evolution has happened, like now you're in Southern California, Encinitas, with a pretty serious honed in niche focus on women's health. Will you share a little bit more about that? Just I know when I was looking for somebody to support my mom, I was like, okay, I want somebody outside the box that is, well, right. When my mom got her diagnosis, I'm like, going into all the mind body stuff and whatever, and I'm like, what's going on? Why did this manifest where it did? And and so obviously my eyes were looking for people with a little bit more of an outside the box worldview, which led me to your guys' website. So will you share a little bit more about kind of the women's health path and how, what that's like?
Yeah, I think it's from both my husband and I, our backgrounds more in the strength and conditioning, fitness, but also like holistic, knowing that a lot of things that were missing when we worked in traditional orthopedic type of physical therapy practices, it was very generic. And it's kind of like the person set on their way, like do these things, insurance cuts you off and go do your own thing. And you may or may not get long-term relief, but it'll probably come back most often. Mm-hmm. So physical therapy is really looked at kind of a grudge rather than something people get excited about. Okay. So we took the tools of all the things that we thought were missing, like nutrition, Pilates, fitness, or like massage, the other tools, and there's so many other gifted practitioners out there that why are we saying that we're the end all be all? It's really should be a team approach. And we wanted to create something that was going to integrate more than just physical therapy, in quotes there. From there, we wanted to create more of a whole body, well-rounded approach to getting people long-term relief.
So beautiful. So so gotcha. So it's like, yeah, you're right. Because you like typically, somebody thinks PT. I'm thinking about my massage therapy background, where somebody comes in and they're like, "Get rid of this kink," and I'm like, "Well, let's look at your habits. What are your day-to-day habits like? I'm not going to get rid of the kink. I mean, maybe for a little bit, And then it's like, but right, lifestyle changes. If the person keeps doing the exact same habit, whatever that habit is, it's like, are we going to get rid of the kink and have it be lasting? So I hear you saying like you guys were, okay, how can we expand what we offer people and draw upon lots of these different habits? Yeah.
And I think as a business, you always have to figure out like, why would somebody come to you versus going to someone else? And women's health, just the niche of the business kind of makes us stand apart as being not just a place you go get work on for your shoulder, but it's really like women are looking for a place they're going to be heard. They're going to have the time to spend with someone who's going to understand their lifestyle, their goals, what they've been through, what hasn't worked. And that's what we wanted to provide. And when we saw that my specialty in pelvic floor was definitely able to stand out as a business model, that's where we kind of made the shift too. And it was so easy to incorporate the Pilates and the massage and other things too that women find so much value in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So speak on that a little bit. Just, the Pilates piece, because and my limited, education on the Pilates world. But for me, I always think core. Like it's like if everything, if the core is not in a good place, good luck is kind of is kind of what I've heard. So anyway, share a little bit about Pilates and just this whole pelvic floor Pilates area. Like how's that, like some of that secret sauce? Because it feels like it's like a sauce that a lot of people aren't locked in on, dialed in on.
Well, if I think Pilates, people think of it as like a girly thing to do, or they see the equipment and they get intimidated by it, or they feel like, oh, that's just for flexible people, when really it is such a strong foundation and really the background of Pilates and why it was started by Joseph Pilates way back when, to rehabilitate people, and building strength from the inside out is such a valuable thing to do, and connecting your mind to your body. There's different forms of exercise, but it's caught on in the dance world. It's caught on with professional athletes. It's caught on to the rehab population. And we have seen such a huge gain in people trying that for back pain and getting so much relief if they're staying consistent with it, rather than, yes, they're going to integrate some things in their lifestyle to make changes, and that's going to help their back pain. But what's really going to keep it from coming back is getting on a type of exercise program that people get excited about because they feel so good. They're standing taller, they're more energized, they feel like their balance improves. There's so many perks to it, but it also has that fitness background of making people feel toned and fit. And so I think it speaks to women a lot when it comes to the injuries that we help, but also just in the fitness world, health world as well. It has so many benefits.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So generally speaking, do you have like a specific, I mean, so you work with women, but it's like, are there specific health concerns or challenges that women are that would who would say like, yes, call, like be in touch with level 4
Mm-hmm.
PT and Pilates, like, or do you have some specific zones where you feel most uh
Yeah.
yeah.
We say our specialties are in back pain and sciatica.
Yeah.
And then also anyone that is looking for more holistic conservative treatment for a variety of issues that women go through. And like after having, I would say from maternity on beyond to menopause and beyond, there's so many things that come up for women that they're told they need surgery or medications, or maybe they have surgery, but they're left in the dark on what to do in really getting back to their active lifestyle. So some of the common things that we do treat are women who have a pelvic organ prolapse, have bladder issues, incontinence, bowel issues, anything related to what the doctors are thinking is a fix under surgery. Mm-hmm. But when really it could be the muscles that can make such a huge impact in helping heal your body. And we have helped, women after surgeries, after, undergoing cancer treatments. There's a lot of things that women go through that's affecting their physical ability and that's their identity. And they want to stay active, but really what kind of guide and support that they need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh, so huge. So huge. I'm just grateful for the work you all are sharing with people and offering to people because yeah, I know people like my mom, and I know so many women are, it's like to have a community of support where you can go and one get like help like get into a routine, right? I mean, I feel like as I think about this last, few years and just the wellness paradigm in the world and in the country, and just like, I remember reading something, if the United States, the population of the United States was as healthy as we were back in 2000, so literally 20 years ago, like the United States health story, like the average American was way healthier 20 years ago. basically we would have had such an easier time walking through the pandemic. Again, this is Malcolm Gladwell did like a speech on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? So just this like, so just powerful that you all are sharing and showing up for people in this way. So needed. So needed. As we think about this next 20 years, it's like, okay, how can we begin to, right? I mean, write the story or write, in some ways, or like, could we make little improvements over this next 20 years versus like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm visualizing, okay, here's America in 2000, and then we're down here. And it's like, no, come on. Let's scoot back up.
Yeah.
I mean, what's been your take on being in the medical world for these, for what, 6, 10 years? How many years have you been doing it?
I've been a PT for almost 20 years, but the last 6 years, I would say since 2000. So when COVID hit, it was interesting because many people didn't want to go to the bigger places to work out. They were looking for something that was going to be more intimate, more, a medical facility was like, they felt safer. Yeah. And so our Pilates program actually grew during that time because we were able to provide a little more of that certainty and also the individualistic approach for people where they didn't want to be in a big class with 20 people.
Yep.
And then we started to see more of a shift where people were sitting at desks longer. They were working from home more, their habits, they gained weight over that time of the pandemic. And we saw a lot of people with pelvic floor issues, back pain, that many times is related to their lifestyle changes and how sedentary people were getting too. So I can't tell you how many times I heard, well, yeah, I gained that weight during the pandemic, or my hips got really tight. My back started hurting. I didn't have this before. So it changed the lifestyle of a lot of people. And some people got more active, but not everybody. And if you got more active, maybe you were doing an activity that you weren't normally doing. So it kind of, was very interesting, that shift, and people looking to health was more at the forefront on people's minds too, and being more on the preventative side. And like, I don't want to get sick. I don't want to lose my mobility. So those are the types of people that I would say were maybe pushed a little bit more to reach out and get help.
Yeah, totally. And that, I mean, yeah, I think the preventative and that proactive, right? Where you're just like, I think after walking through this last 3 years, now again, the emotional trauma of it all, I think we're all kind of like trying to rebound from it as we're coming out of it or whatever. But it's like that preventative and proactive approach, I feel like that's so much of what you're sharing about is what you all offer. I mean, that's this, right, creating the lifestyle, the flow that you can actually maintain long term versus like, all right, I'm gonna do a 60-day thing and then fall off the wagon and then get back on and do 20 days, or is that what I'm kind of hearing you say? I mean, you guys are way more about
So it's like when you go to a typical type of medical facility, you don't necessarily get, like, we're more about community. So the people that see us, even if they may come for a number of sessions during a time, we're going to make sure that we're checking in with them once a month or every 6 months. It's kind of like, why you do that with your dentist? Why don't you do that for your body with your physical therapist or with your Pilates instructor? And we're kind of can recalibrate, hold people accountable. And that's why we got into this field, is to help others and help them for the long term.
Amazing. So as you think about just, in your 20 years of working in the medical world, like what, for somebody who's like brand new, so let's say somebody hops on the YouTube or on the podcast and is like brand new to kind of preventative and proactive wellness approaches, what might you offer to somebody who's newer to this like idea? Like I think a lot of us were kind of raised in the it's more of the reactive, right? Oh, I bumped my knee. All right, go get your Neosporin and go get your bandage or whatever, right? It's more of like a reactive sort of lifestyle, and then like more like a car, right? We get injured, boom, go into the you get the fix up, and then you're back in the car.
Right.
And yet what you're sharing is way more in this like, okay, let's check in. Let's check in with our bodies, right? Like we do our teeth. Let's check in and see where we're at.
Yeah. Well, that's why we love to either talk to somebody on the phone first or meet them in person and just see what their goals are. And then from there, we're able to match with what a good fit is. Some women, they come to us and they may just start in our Pilates classes or do individual privates. Some start with myself as doing some physical therapy, or we at least make sure we screen them before they do any service, so we can make sure that we're really looking out for their best interests and give recommendations. I think people come to us because they want more of that expert guidance. They can go see a lot of different types of practitioners, but many times they feel like their problem keeps coming back, or they just don't have a handle on it, and they're looking up YouTube videos and things on Google, and it's just not working for them. So they want more of who can do a full body assessment and really address what the problem is and what I need to do to fix it. And if it's just kind of like back pain on and off, or it's a problem that they can do everything they want to do, but it is something they don't want to get worse, that's where we may combine Pilates with physical therapy, some massage. We just figure out the best approach for what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so good. So more just really focus on the individual, like, okay, individual goals, individual challenge. Let's find the best path forward for them. That's amazing. So for you, being a practitioner and and guiding people, like just personally on your own journey, if you don't mind sharing, what are a few of your, like, if you were to say, okay, I mean, this is because, this is the thing right now is like, all right, here are the three things. Here are my three things that are like non-negotiables when it comes to Dawn's wellness journey. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just curious what you're prioritizing, if you don't mind sharing three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, number one, and my husband can vouch for this, that I am really a stickler about sleep. If I don't sleep well one night, it definitely throws me off. And maybe this is from having two kids, but I'm like very anal about sleep because my brain does not function. And I need to be talking to people all day. And I don't like when I feel foggy brain. Yeah. So I would say that's number one. And then also eating healthy. If I have a day where I'm eating more processed foods or I just don't feel like I'm following a good plan, I'll definitely feel it the next couple of days. So I do have to, stick with a healthy eating plan, not necessarily a diet, but following healthy eating habits. And then, movement has always been something I'm really passionate about. And I have had ups and downs with a couple injuries myself, so I know how it feels when you can't do what you want to do. And I was always big into running. And if I felt like I had a hamstring injury and I couldn't run like I wanted to, that was really probably aggravating me on and off for like 2 years. And you're like, but you're a PT, can't you fix yourself? Well, not always.
Yeah.
So I actually got into yoga a year ago and have been pretty diligent with doing that. And also too, I think once you hit 40, like you get these aches and pains that creep up and you have to keep on top of it. So I would say if I don't do my stretching a couple times a week, then I start getting hip and back pain and I don't like it either. So movement is very important.
Yeah, that is a magic trio right there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's so, yeah, thank you for sharing those. Yeah, I just did we're like working out at a spa over here in New York right now, and they have, just a small little workout room. They've got a Peloton bike. Well, of course over committed and like went for like a challenging 20-minute session. And last night before bed, I'm like, okay, how you doing back? Like, let's do some stretches. Yeah, I'm like, okay, just kind of the journey, right? Of like, especially with, I mean, it sounds like you had kind of a competitive dance. When you have that competitive sports brain, it's kind of hard to just be like, oh, let me do a beginner round, when in actuality, my body's like, yeah, you haven't really been cycling a whole lot as of late, like,
yeah,
why are you going in for the big time? So got it. Yeah. So the stretching.
Yeah. I mean, I love weightlifting. I love Pilates. I love running. There's so many different forms of exercise that I like, and I tend to switch it up a lot. But I think I know now what my body needs to feel good. So that's what I try to prioritize.
Yes. Yes. That's a beautiful, beautiful reminder. Just like, identifying what your body needs.
Yeah.
Right. And some days like today, I'm like, nope, don't need to work out. I'll probably do a little bit of stretching here before the day is over, but it's like, did a lot yesterday, maybe too much. Today is definitely more of stretch and breathe day. So yeah, following what your body's asking for, I think, is such a key.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, all right, so that's beautiful. Those three go-tos for you. What, like, when you have stress just feels a little high. So obviously these are I mean, it sounds like the sleep you probably would include sleep right in there with like, but if stress levels are high, do you have any specific grounding activities where you're like, just to get back to calm, like that work for you? Or do you listen to certain things, or is there something that kind of helps you find your center again when you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed?
Yeah. I do like to take walks. I listen to lots of podcasts myself too. Um, I do love to listen to music, but I would say getting outside and walking is probably one of the best stress relieving things to do. Sometimes I get in this realm if I am really stressed out, and the usually what my brain is saying is like, just sit in it and don't do anything. But I have to force myself to say, no, that's how I'm going to feel better if I take a walk. So I would say that would be the number one thing. That, and yes, yoga helps.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think for me, it's like, it's easy to, put a doctor on like a pedestal, and be like, Don's got it squared away, right? I mean, you're like, I haven't, I had a hamstring thing, like I'm still human, right? But it's easy to like, I mean, especially for me in like the holistic world, I'm like, oh, like Don's got this squared away, like,
Mm-mm.
um, but yeah,
Sometimes we're the worst too. That's why we get into it, because we're like, trying to figure out ourselves all the time too.
mm, almost like a reminder, almost. I mean, for me, right? It's
Yeah.
like a reminder as you're working on somebody else, as you're inviting somebody else to consider their nutrition game, right? Then you're like, oh yeah, I I kind of feel like stopping and grabbing. I don't know if you've had the Nectarine Grove cinnamon roll yet.
No, I
It's the
haven't. I've
latest.
seen it, but
Dangerous, dangerous. Probably the best one I've ever had in my life. But in moderation, I try to allow. I'm like, in moderation, I'll go over there once a month or once every couple months just for a cinnamon roll. Yeah. So again, you're not perfect. You're on the journey like all the rest of us. But
definitely not.
yeah, 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 yeah. So what's as you're thinking about level 4 PT and just kind of visioning like, I mean, you guys are in Encinitas. Um, as you think about this next few years, just continuing down this path of like supporting people with women's, supporting women with their health journeys and finding their wellness again. And yeah, as you're visualizing this next few years, like does that vision change, or are you still doing the same thing? Are you adding anything in down the road, or what?
Hmm.
Yeah, what are your current
Um,
ideas?
well, yeah, I have really, I think because I'm sitting in it right now, but I've also had a lot of female clients between the ages of like 40 and 60 who are struggling with the transition to menopause,
Mhm.
and having all these like strange symptoms where they're either being dismissed by their doctor, or they're feeling like they have to think outside the box and go look into all their alternative or holistic things.
Yeah.
I would love to create more of a structured program of things that have worked for me, and also to bring in the experts together to help assist that transition, like physically, to make people feel better.
Mm.
And I also, we had a vision to have another location
Mhm.
around San Diego, with our same type of business model.
Mhm.
Not quite sure if that's still in the cards. I mean,
Yeah.
Southern California and the rent and everything,
Yeah.
and if we really want the overhead of doing that, but we have so many other unique ways that we can reach more people with doing more online education, also with Pilates, like developing a teacher training to help other instructors. We have a lot of things that are brewing in the works that we'd like
Mm.
to grow our business in different ways too.
Yeah. Oh, love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. Okay. As you're saying that, it's like as you were saying the online piece. So if somebody listens to this over in Ohio, right? I mean, I'm in
Mm-hmm.
New York, you're in California, but like what I mean, at present, are you able to are you able to offer some online guidance? I mean, or do you mainly work with San Diego based or people who would travel into California and work with you kind of in, in-house and Encinitas?
Yeah. Well, both. We've had people come in from out of town and we do offer that in-person service. But we do a lot of wellness consulting with people from all over.
Okay.
I've been starting to grow a YouTube channel, Level 4 Women's Health. So I put a lot of content on there and get comments from people in other countries. And so we do offer virtual options for helping people coach and guide them on their wellness journey. I also have an online program for post hysterectomy healing. So it's kind of a 60-day what you can do to get back into activity. And the doctor tells you what not to do after a hysterectomy, and then they kind of clear you. But a lot of women never see a physical therapist when we can be very helpful in guiding them back to recovery, especially when it comes to a female issue like that and just feeling confident in their body again. So yes, we're developing some
Amazing.
more online options for people.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's so exciting, right? That I
Yeah.
mean, it's really incredible, right? What the internet, is allowing us to be able to. I mean, you're being able to reach people across the world,
Yeah. Yeah.
and support people to find and make the shifts that they need to make.
Yeah. I've had a client in Pennsylvania. I've had a client in Northern California. I have clients in Canada.
Hmm.
When I had a return to fitness after having a baby
Hmm.
type of coaching program. So I've done different things like that virtually too.
Mm, amazing. So cool, Dawn. I love it. I love it. So as you think about your life up till now, can you like, would you identify two people in your world, maybe that you met, maybe that you've never met? I mean, it could just be somebody that you've read and absolutely love, I mean, so would you identify just a couple people as you think about just how you're showing up in the world today? So it could be somebody that you've met, somebody that you don't know, but who are some of those, maybe one or two of those big influences in how you're showing up in the world today?
um, yeah, I mean, I have to sit and think on that.
Yeah, yeah.
I I do because I do love reading and also listening to different podcasts. There's been um I think females in leading or being in business always inspired me too.
Hmm.
Um, being able to kind of motivate other women and on things I struggled with and being able to motivate them is something that speaks to me.
Hmm.
Um, I'm trying to think of anyone specific. I I do admire, and this is more on a business standpoint,
Yeah.
is Sarah Blakely,
Okay.
who invented Spanx,
Yeah.
which she just was one of those very um, strong, confident females that created something out of nothing. And I found that really admirable.
Hmm.
Um, and there's been so many people in like the health and wellness field. I I do admire like listening to people like Joe Dispenza or people that are like, this whole mind body approach where your mind really controls a lot of things. And if you don't set that straight, I just find it so fascinating when
Hmm.
people are healing diseases with, the outlook of where their mind is and staying positive and
Hmm.
um, soul searching about how they're going to get through it and rather than having a negative pessimistic attitude. So I find that really fascinating, and that's something that I know I struggle with. I'm more of an emotional reaction kind of person rather than just being able to like switch your brain in a different way. So I would say a lot of like mindset kind of people really inspire me too.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. Love it.
I think I talked to your mom about Joe Dispenza before.
Oh,
She was
yeah.
like, I know.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my favorites. Definitely one of my favorites. Yeah, have you ever heard of that as you're saying him, it reminded me of this Dr. John Sarno. You ever heard of
No.
this guy? He's
Uh-uh.
like oh my, I'm not going to remember the book title, but it's some mind body prescription, I think is actually is what it's called. And he was like in the 70s and 80s, and he started talking mind body up in like NYU, hospitals over there, because he was doing tons of back surgeries. And he's like,
Oh,
I can't do back surgeries anymore, because he started to realize this like mind body connection that was going
yeah.
on. And so he would literally do lectures, and people would roll into these lectures, and like back pain would just go.
See, I've seen it happen with my own
Right.
eyes too.
Yeah,
And
you
it's
have.
like if we get somebody's stress level down and change some things in their life or how they're perceiving something else, like it's pretty much like, yes, my back pain's gone away, but they didn't have like a mechanical back problem.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild what we hold in our bodies, right? That it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's sometimes just like childhood crap or what, or something we walked through back in the day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, because I treat so much of pelvic floor issues, there's such a relationship between that and what people are told when they're younger, or they're fearful, or they have a history of like abuse, or, there's so many different things we hold tension in our body for.
yeah.
And if we figure out a way to address that along with the physical side, it has a wonderful outcome.
So I'm just so great. I'm so grateful for the work you're doing. And thanks for sharing. So yeah, the Spanx gal, and then Joe
They're like
Dispenza.
two totally different
No, but I
spectrums.
mean, no, but I mean, entrepreneur. Yeah, I mean that mindset. I mean, she's a incredible businesswoman, right? I mean, she really.
Yeah.
I feel like I've read a little bit about her.
But like somebody that's very like respected and not ever cruel or like trying to get her way to the top, but she's very just like the girl next door, but you want to cheer her on kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Totally. Totally. Oh, so good. As you're, as you're a mom and rock, I got to meet your daughter this summer, and she was helping out at the studio, which was super cool. And she was shiny and warm like yourself. What have you learned? How has your parenting journey impacted your role as doctor, as PT, as you know what I mean? Like, does that
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
She's my mini me, our older one too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see that path. And it's like some of the things that you wish that you, I guess, knew or could guide her earlier than when I learned. Those are the fun things to do. And listening to what is going on in her brain and how she's processing things. I mean, we have two daughters, but they're both very different personalities. And the younger one's more like my husband, the older one's more like me. So it's very interesting on communication styles and how they are motivated differently. And it is like you learn a lot about yourself when you are going through those lenses to try to help guide them.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what I've heard. I've not have kids yet, but I've heard that it's like you're this mirror work, right? That you're just like, oh my goodness, like how can I show up here, right?
Yeah.
And the different idiosyncrasies that can flow out. I know that my relationship with my mom. I remember in like my early 20s. I feel like when you're growing up, it's kind of like parent is kind of like God, or like universal guide, or, you know, like this, like the leader, the voice. They're the voice. And for me, I just kind of followed in line. They're like, go here. All right, I'm going to go there. You know, I was pretty, yeah, I don't know. I kind of followed suit. But then in my 20s, my mom was still kind of wanting to play that role. And I was like, hey, mom, here's the deal. I have some ideas for how you could change your life as well now. You know, and I was like, could we start to talk like two adults, you know, which has been,
Yeah.
so, that was not easy for her to hear at first, you know. But then like, yeah, but now as I think back, fast forward, you know, 20 years, and it's like, oh, what a gift. What a
Yeah.
gift. It sounds like you're diving in with both of your girls. Um, and yeah, being that listener and showing up in ways where it's like, maybe you wished, you said, you maybe in your life, you're like, all right, how can I show up differently, you know,
Yeah.
this go around?
Yeah. And it was different too. My mom stayed home with us. She didn't necessarily have a career. And so that's one thing too. That's like a different type of role model, or a different,
Yeah.
there's a lot of qualities that I take from the things that I valued from that. But then also, how can I show them that you can be a working mom, that you can have a whole career, you can have a business, you can do all these things. Your identity is not solely, um, staying in one lane. You can do a lot of different things.
Love that. That's such a huge reminder for all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it really is. It's so easy to just kind of drop into that, here's my identity. And then it's like oftentimes a lot of dreams are sacrificed, a lot of goals and passions are sacrificed. And sometimes, yeah, yeah, not honoring ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like you're modeling like empowered, strong, creative, servant of others. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
right. As I think about my interactions with you, and even just this conversation right here, I'm like, yeah, what a gift you are to both your girls.
Oh,
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. It's huge. It's huge. You know, it's such a, I mean, if I've learned anything from my mom, it's not easy being a mom. It's not easy being a mom, you know,
Not
but it's
easy.
such a gift, you know. Yeah. I feel your heart as you're sharing there. So, all right. So a couple final questions. As you think, yeah, I think just how are you able to stay in your lane? Yeah, I'll just say that, right? Because, right, where it's like, okay, mom, level 4 PT, right? Wife, friend, you know, anyway, like, how are you able to stay in your lane given, because we all get kind of bombarded if we pick up our phones, which most of us
Mm-hmm.
do, you know. And I don't know about you, but I kind of have to be pretty particular about when I'm like, yep, not opening that. That's, you know, that Safari link. You know, I'm not going to look at NPR right now, or I'm not allowing myself to open that yet today. Maybe next week. But anyway, how are you able to stay in your lane? Is that easy for you? Um, yeah, I mean, it's just been an intense last few years, and I know you've got a heart for people, so it's just been such a whirlwind. Are you able to? Is it easy for you to kind of lock in, focus on your
Uh,
lane, or do you sometimes get pulled in all, you know, in these other directions as well?
yeah, I think every week I do,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
setting priorities and also keeping, like, making sure everything is meaningful with what you are doing, um, not wasting time.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that whole piece is a challenge, is constantly a challenge where you're like, well, how do I get it all done? How do I do that and do that? You have to, um, like on Sunday nights, I set what are my priorities for the week. Okay, I'm going to get these are where I'm going to focus on. And if I get these other things done, great, but I'm going to stick to the high priority things. And it's a lot of, I think, just figuring out with time management and schedules and things like that too. Yeah. And there's many days where too many things pile on, and you just have to be okay with not getting everything done.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Just have to find the breath on those days and be like, tomorrow is another day. Yeah. I'll catch myself at like 8:39. Sometimes I'm like, and tomorrow's going to be here and I'll have tomorrow. Yeah. I'm fortunate to have tomorrow. I will have tomorrow and I'll be able to restart this list. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to ask yourself, is this like life or death? No, it's right. Like, why am I trying to, stress about it, or it'll work itself out. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's such a, I feel like that's yeah. Is this life or death? I mean, that is definitely a question that, right? I mean, it's such just a grounding, almost a grounding question where it's like, okay, I'm starting to get so amped up in this zone. And yet, actually, I could do it tomorrow because I have this window of time tomorrow that I could do it, right?
Yeah. What's the worst? Yeah. You always look at worst case scenario. Can I live with that? Sure. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't have to do it right now.
Yeah. Totally. All right. So let's imagine, level 4 PT has been invited. You, Dr. Dawn Andalon, have been invited to this huge conference over in Europe to speak to 20,000 physical therapists, healthcare professionals. And people are like locked in and are there to like hear your keynote speech and they've been locked in. And
no pressure.
No pressure. No pressure at all. It's going to happen and everybody's going to be stoked to be listening to you. And then at the end of your speech, you're like, all right, I want to make sure everybody gets these 3 pieces. Like, what would you want people to like walk away chewing on, processing, journaling about, considering as they're thinking about their next 5 months, next 5 years? What are a few like?
Yeah. I would say, you only have one body, so you need to treat it well. And you need to put that above anything else, because if you're not healthy, then you can't give back to others and do what you want to do in life. Another thing is being your own advocate. So if something doesn't sit well with you, or a practitioner tells you something that you think, your intuition is telling you maybe there's a better way, or maybe there's another option, that you're not going to just take it because they are a doctor or whoever they are in their expertise. There's always medicine it's an art, not a, what do they say? It's an art, not a science. Like, there is a lot of different ways to get at a solution for something. And so talking to, if you do your own research and your own advocate and one doctor says you need surgery, then go see 2 more and see what they say. I would say the other piece is, I never studied nutrition other than what I've studied on my own and working with a dietitian, and also what we got in physical therapy school and my undergrad in nutrition. But I just think that's such a huge piece. Like, food is medicine. And if you are exercising and taking care of your body, but you're not fueling it appropriately, then that kind of, you're defeating the purpose, because that's healing your body from the inside out. So that's always been something I've been really interested in. And I maybe meant to go to study nutrition, but I never did. But I think it goes hand in hand with so much of the physical aspect. So it's one piece that I definitely wanted to include in what we provide to others too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, those are incredible. Huge,
Thank you.
huge
Somebody else
reminder.
asked me that, so I had them like fresh in my
Oh
head.
yeah. Huge reminder, right? I mean, yeah. Yeah. If we're not taking care of this, right? Yeah. I mean, 30 years from now could look very differently.
Mm-hmm.
5 years can look can look very differently. I mean, you've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it in clients
Mm-hmm.
where you're like,
Yep.
you see a 6 month somebody just locked in with a different. You're helping them kind of lock into new habits.
Yeah. I think when I worked for a while when my kids were younger in home health physical therapy
Mm-hmm.
and seeing so many chronic illnesses and people with cabinets and cabinets of medications and like so many things that are just so out of control that could have been prevented with a lot of it's ignorance or just not having the right guide of somebody
Mm-hmm.
helping them to see it a different way.
Yeah.
But that's something that I'm just like, oh my gosh, with the amount of people that are unhealthy and ending up with chronic problems, a lot of it starts from here too. And
Mm-hmm.
what they're not fueling their body, their mind with the education, and also willing to listen and learn from other people too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, having that open mind, right, is so key. And especially, yeah, I mean, as you're sharing that, it's like did you ever watch that Jamie Oliver? He was like a chef. He was like a
Yeah.
chef that kind of went into schools and was like teaching kids about, hey,
Oh,
this is a tomato. And they're
yeah.
like, they had no idea what it was, but just this idea. And he'd go into homes and like clear out cabinets and say, hey, okay,
Yeah.
here we go. Yeah, what
There
a
was like the big wheelbarrow full of sugar that
yeah,
he like poured
yeah.
out to
In
show them
there,
how much
yeah,
sugar they were consuming.
yeah, yeah.
That's I know.
It's
Yeah.
wild. It's wild that it's even like legal. Like
I
I think
know.
sometimes that's what trips me out the most, where I'm just like, just the big food industry just kind of has like this
Yeah.
market. They have this market pull, right? Where it's like, you know,
Yeah. Follow the food babe on Instagram if you don't already.
yeah, okay,
She's the one that uh helped get Subway in trouble for their bread when they were putting chemicals in the bread. And she exposes like what marketing really is on food and how awful it is.
yeah,
It's pretty you have to understand it's like or people don't understand it's
yeah,
all just business and it's all
yeah,
about money
yeah,
rather than are they really out for the best for the person.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm definitely visioning our I think our us citizens are becoming way more aware, given like what we have access to online. I feel like way more of us are like becoming more aware. I mean, it seems to me. 15 years ago, I felt way more alone, and I feel like now it's like, oh, people are learning, right? I mean, there's great documentaries that are out there about nutrition, about consider this. I see way more articles about oh, this herbicide found in da da da, like we can no longer allow that, or whatever.
Yeah, like
There seems to be more kind of an awakening happening. I'm definitely just visioning that hopefully like that then the government could be like, all right, let's start regulating more more strictly on what's allowed to go on the grocery shelves.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, those were thank you for those tidbits. And Dawn, I'm grateful for you. And yeah, thanks for loving on my mom. First and foremost, thanks for loving on my mom. And I know she's stoked to get back to California here shortly to keep growing, to keep evolving, to keep healing. And I know mom's going to listen to this one,
Oh,
100% guaranteed. So
she's
um,
she's amazing. Your whole
yeah,
family. Yep.
yeah. So thank you for loving on her. And then thanks for sharing your voice here on the podcast, and just being willing to share what you're up to at Level 4 PT and Pilates. I'm so excited for the work you're doing, services you're offering. Those of you who are listening in, if you're whether you're in San Diego area or if you're an out of towner, I'll have all of Dr. Dawn's information in the description below, both on podcast and YouTube. And when I'm posting about it on Instagram, you'll be able to keep tabs and see what she's up to. And I just am really, really inspired by the work you're doing and the love you're bringing day in and day out. And just know I see you and I'm thankful. I'm really thankful for the work you're offering. That you're sharing.
Thank you. And I think it's great, this podcast and YouTube channel you do as well.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks to those of you who joined today. If Dr. Dawn can be of service to you, or if I can be of service to you, definitely reach out to us after listening in. Just know that Dr. Dawn, Mr. Massage Guy Aaron, like, we're also on the learning journey. We're also finding our way and going through overwhelmed times and finding strategies and tools and continuously, I think, embracing this growth mindset. And so I think that the more that we all kind of say yes to this growth mindset of okay, let's stay curious. What, like you said, the advocate piece. I mean, having that, get curious. What else could be an option here, right?
Mm-hmm.
What could I shift? I mean, such good reminders. So just know you're not alone. We're healing alongside you. And definitely reach out to us if we can be of service. And once again, this is episode 46 of Our Healing Voices podcast and YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.